What a fantastic start to an episode. So, hi everyone. Welcome to episode 472. Tonight, we have Vinnie Wimalasiri. Oh, I got it right. Love that.
Perfect.
Wonderful. So, tonight's all about content. So, in a world where everything seems to be driven by, impressed by, hooked by the content that you deliver, tonight's episode is really powerful and really important because not only is it about content, it's about how you, whether you're here in this wonderful audience or at home, can actually use the tools in your hands to make the most valuable content that actually has an impact in the direction that you wanted it to have an impact, right? So this is not by chance. This is not by luck. It's by design. So tonight's guest, which I might even read from the sheet, right? Welcome to Vinnie, as I mentioned, founder and chief pilot at Lucid Creative, a high impact content and marketing studio based here in Bali. With nearly a decade of global experience, Vinnie is an internationally recognized FPV drone pilot and creative strategist, crafting cinematic stories for leading brands like Red Bull, Ministry of Sound, and Forbes-featured resorts. From a DJ producer, as in his roots, not of his hair, of his soul, right? But his hair, you might say, I can see the roots. Roots can be your fruits, by the way. In Australia, to directing stunning brand campaigns across luxury travel, music, and lifestyle. Vinnie's work is bold, immersive, and built to convert. As I mentioned, this episode unpacks the strategies behind stop scrolling content and how to fuse creativity with results. So as you can see from the imagery behind us, this is an older showreel of yours, Vinnie, which will be on loop, so you can kind of get to see some of the work which he's basically putting out there. Now, some of the takeaways which I'd like us to just to keep in mind, what separates content that gets watched from content that gets results. Number 2, how to craft scroll-stopping visuals in a saturated market. And number 3, the role of story, strategy, and tech, including FPV in modern brand marketing. So my name is Robert Ian Bonnick, as many of you know, a gateway to Indonesia for foreign and Indonesian companies, foreign companies that want to enter, Indonesian companies that want to grow within. And we basically set off from the time that your company is set up. How do you get into business? How do you plug into business? How do you create a sustainable business with customers which are both expat, foreigners, Indonesians as well? How do you do that in 10 different market sectors? That's what we do. So if you need any support and help in there, please feel free to reach out. But let's get tonight's episode started. So, Vinnie, as I mentioned before, for many, the first time I met him and saw photos, I thought he was Indonesian, and he's not, for those of you who might think he is. But let's get into a bit of your background. So let's allay some of those suspicions out there. So where are you from? Where did you grow up? Where were you born? And how did you begin to find your way into this wonderful multimedia world?
All right, so I was born in Sri Lanka, and then I lived there till I was 16 years old. We had a civil war going on the whole time that I was born. We had a civil war going on for like 20 years, so my entire existence was knowing there's a war going on around me. So me and my family decided to leave Sri Lanka and go to Australia. And the thing about me is that I was never academically sound. Like, I was good at figuring things out by myself. I was always playing with computers and doing all kinds of wacky shit with it. But I could never, score very high grades in just normal exams. So that trend continued even in Australia, where I was, in certain things I was excelling like crazy, but in other things I was just flunking.
Yeah.
So I tried the academic route of going to uni and trying to get a higher education, but I was continuously just not fulfilled by that. And that's when I realized like I just like doing more creative things. And then I watched, if anybody knows Armin van Buuren, one of the world's biggest DJs, I went to one of his shows because a friend dragged me along, and I went, that's what I want to be. So I decided I want to become a DJ. Then I started learning how to DJ. I started learning how to make music, and I had my first release in about a year of starting the journey. And that, again, being a DJ was like my first creative spark as such. And while learning how to be a DJ and music producer, that creativity kind of goes to other things that you do. So I started learning how to make visuals for the music that I'm making. I started learning how to make video edits for the music that I'm making by myself, because when you're starting out in that phase, you don't have a giant team behind you. You don't have giant budgets as such. So I taught myself how to do all of those things. And eventually, my music started going really well. I had a decent SoundCloud following. I even made an official remix for Darude, if anybody knows who that is. Even performed with him on stage when he came through to Australia. But as usual, life likes to just throw curveballs at someone, right? Whenever you think, oh, I'm good, man. I'm good. This is great. And here comes a curveball. My hearing got busted. So I started getting like pains and all these problems with my hearing. So
just so you know, I'm smiling because part of the story I know, right?
Yeah.
And otherwise you think, that guy's so mean. The guy's saying that it's his life's work. He reached the top of the mountain, then his ears blew out, and the guy's laughing. That's not that's a bit insensitive. But we both have tinnitus. Right, so it's just something. We've both been in music. We both have tinnitus. Ministry of Sound that came recently. I was one of the local partners. But anyway, so there's quite a few funny things in the story. But please go. But before we start, actually, who here would describe themselves as creatively brilliant, but not really smart on the books? Put your hand up. Creatively brilliant, but not really smart at school.
Oh, we got one, two.
We have lots of liars in the room. That's what because you know, people which when they're telling the truth are like this, right? Those who are lying are usually like this. I see a lot of head shaking. Please, but back to your story.
Yeah. So, in that moment, I had to decide what the hell am I going to do with myself. So I stopped DJing, I stopped doing that, and I kind of just like fluffed around for like a year or two, just going, what the hell am I going to do with myself? And then so at that time, while pursuing my music career, I was working at an electronics store selling all kinds of stuff to people. And this was like 2017, 2018, when drones started to appear in retail shelves. And then there was a drone. And I was like, oh, this is cool. What is this thing? So I bought one of those, and then I crashed it, obviously, in the first 5 minutes. But for some reason, I guess this is me. Whenever something gets really difficult, I go, no, I'm not quitting until I get good at this. So I just kept buying drone after drone. And my parents are looking at me like, do you like burning money? I said, yeah, absolutely. I love it. So I just kept going with it.
I earned it, I burn it.
Yeah, exactly. I earned it, I burnt it. So I continued down the road of learning how to fly drones better. And while doing that, here's where when you do one thing, it sprouts out to other things. Drones have cameras. I now know how to make some shitty GoPro look good when it's mounted to a drone, which means I can now work other cameras. So I went from that to picking up more professional cameras. And then because I had connections back in the music industry, I started filming and shooting concerts and artists. So I worked for a lot of touring acts that came through to Australia, and that also trained my creative eye. What's a creative eye? That's basically how can you place all the right elements to keep anything, even something that is mundane, how do you make that interesting? So I just kept going with it, and fortunately, me and my best friend, we were both doing the same thing together, and he was a DJ too. So we both kind of lifted each other up and criticized the living shit out of each other's work. Even today, if I send my best work to him, he'll go, "That's shit. Here's how you can do it better." And that's one more important thing. You should have someone like that in your life who isn't just a yes man and who isn't just trying to feed your ego. You need people around you that will always check you or always real with you.
Hands up who's married in the room. Now, tell the truth. That person is your wife, isn't it? She'll always tell you the truth. I can see a few smiles now. Yes. And the wife, yes. Yes. Always right. Always right.
Yeah, so in terms of that, I improved more and more. Then from music, I went on to doing commercial. So I started working for some of the top agencies in Western Australia, handling all of their large-scale commercial projects, and that was the pathway. So I just got better and better and better as time went on.
You know, one of the things which comes up, right, is this resilience within you, right? Now, we kind of laugh and joke around a bit here,
yeah.
but the work is serious, but we don't take ourselves seriously. So if I asked you, you know, you mentioned before, like you broke the first drone series of them, but you never gave up. So if I asked you, because people here also, SpeakuP Monday is about people inspire people,
yeah.
Unity and diversity, entrepreneurship and social impact. Always has been, always will be. So if I asked you, where did that resilient streak come from? What would you say?
Usually a resilient streak will come through when you're not comfortable. So at the time, I was in a state at which I was trying to figure out what the hell am I going to do with myself. I don't want to go down the academic route, but in most countries, if you don't go down the academic route, how are you going to get like a high-paying position? So then it becomes a matter of, I have to become the high-paying position. And then it becomes like a do or die kind of mindset where you just don't stop at whatever curveballs get thrown at you. Even in my creative career, there were so many curveballs thrown at me. For those of you who don't know, Australia has some of the most restrictive drone laws in the world. And we had one situation where I was told to ground my drones for 1 whole year. Because a gigantic production for a major insurance company, they didn't do their due diligence properly, and I was told, hey, everything is good, we have paperwork, etc. But somebody in that giant chain screwed it up, and that resulted in a government investigation in which no wrongdoing, but formal warnings were given to everybody in that chain. But that took 1 year. 1 year of being told you gotta watch your back. The government's checking your social media. The government's checking all of your stuff. That would kind of make most people go, "F this, I'm out." But what I did was, in that time, I contacted all of my friends in the music industry and went, "Hey, need a concert shooter?" Because I'm not doing drones anymore. That's when I got really good at shooting regular things.
You know, what I also find as well, just talking to a lot of different people over the years, is just hearing a bit of your story. You know, the fact that you said you were not born into war, but war was happening around you. And like, from what it sounds like, your parents were quite pragmatic in terms of people. So they got you out of there, right? So, and then we're moving after this. So if I would ask you, of this resilience that has formed within you, which aspect was contributed to by your dad, and what was it? And which aspect was contributed to by your mum, and what was it? What would you say?
Those are my dad. Honestly, it's both. Like, both my parents were quite similar in that sense of, I mean, moving to another country that you don't know the culture and you don't know what's going on. We had some family in Australia, which kind of helped. But still, that's a terrifying ordeal to go through as a whole family. Because I was 16 and my 15? Yeah, I was 16 and my sister was 20 at the time. And because of the war that's going on, we lost pretty much everything. So my mom had to stop everything. My dad had to stop everything. Money was really tight. And we moved to Australia with really not much in our banks accounts or even cash, to be honest. And it was that immigrant lifestyle that I had from the years of 16 until probably when I was like 19 years old. That 3 years was a fucking tough 3 years for me and my family.
Respect, brother. Thank you. Thank you. So to honor everyone here who's come to see you, so what separates content that gets watched from content that gets results? What would you say?
So this is where anybody who is deciding to make content needs to be very strategic about what they're trying to do. Now, I see a lot of content on social media that will get bazillion likes and bazillion views, but that only works for certain things. If you're trying to sell soaps, that is not a very sexy venture, to be honest, okay? Or if you're trying to sell roofing equipment, that is not a sexy venture either. So that is where you as a marketer or you as a content person have to figure out, how can I make this maybe not completely sexy, but give it like a slight tinge of sexiness, but make sure it hyper targets the person who's looking to buy that thing. What does that mean? Not chasing millions of views for your product. Sure, millions of views means you have a higher...
We're in Canggu.
Yep. Millions of views mean that you have a higher chance of getting brand awareness, but sometimes that awareness would just be eyeballs and not people going, oh, I want to buy this.
Let's make it easier, right?
Yeah.
'Cause I get what you're saying. So we have a school. Someone else give me a product. We have a school. We have soap. Catering. All right. So we got a school. We have soap, and we have catering. So what we're saying is that to create or generate, a campaign or content that puts a lot of eyeballs on it, maybe not the best effective way to get business for the soap, for the catering, and for the school. So each one of those three, maybe one or two things that will be good for them to guide them to creating better content that's actually effective. What would that be?
So this is where having stories to what you're doing helps. So, for example, on cue, let's go.
That's the first time for SpeakuP.
That's Bali.
But you know what? We're in Bali. Round of applause, everyone. Round of applause. That was amazing. Perfect timing. And position.
So this is where telling stories about what you do really helps with what you're trying to sell. And for these types of services or products, running boosted ad campaigns is a better idea than trying to completely reach out just from organic content.
Okay.
So organic versus boosted means boosted is where you're running paid ads on social media, or you're running paid ads on Google, versus just trying to rely on, I put this reel out, someone's going to see it and buy it. Because there's so many, the competition is crazy now for those types of services, especially for catering in a place like this. So you need to run targeted campaigns, and you need to also really figure out with your targeted campaigns, who is the person you're trying to target.
Now, question, right? Going one step deeper, because what we've noticed is that meta in Bali is a bit difficult sometimes, because there's one guy who usually sits up there, a very famous developer who spends he has about 11.9 million eyeballs on his product every month. Yep. But he spends tens of thousands, right, to create that. So let's say you haven't got that budget of tens of thousands, what other kind of creative ways, utilizing content or utilizing ideas you have in your mind, would the caterer, the school, forget the soap, the caterer or the school, how would they, what could they do?
So this is where you can go a couple of layers deeper into what you do. Rather than just saying, I do catering, you can make content that showcases more what is the effect of what you do on your end clientele.
Okay.
This is where instead of just showing my spoons and my forks, you're showing, we did this with this, and we don't sell catering, we sell smiles. Something like that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You're not just selling the base product, you're selling the end result of it.
Got it.
And that's what I do with all of this stuff. I mean, this is all fancy drone flying, but at the end of the day, I'm selling attention. Whatever I do gets a lot of attention for whoever puts me down to do it. That's the road in which we go. Especially if you don't have gigantic budgets to boost your content. Sometimes putting a gigantic budget to boost it would be working against it because whatever you created was not effective in the first place. So then just throwing money behind it is not going to result in what you're looking for. And then you're going to start blaming the person who made the video, being like, hey, what is this? This is not working. I'm not getting much business. And that creates a really shitty situation of its own.
So then to break it down and help me out here if I get it incorrect. So what you're saying is before you set out on a campaign, before you hire someone to do content, literally kind of step back and say, well, what would the 3 questions be? You know, what would they be, for example, who are we targeting? What are we trying to do with this outreach campaign? What's the outcome that we're looking for? And perhaps then finding an expert to help to create that. Is that how you operate?
Yeah, when I first started, I wasn't good at those 3 things that you mentioned, which is, you know, who is the person for and those things. But as I got more experience in this field, I, to some extent, become that person too. Okay. So that's when somebody of like my caliber becomes the full turnkey solution, where you just rock up through the doors, and then I go, okay, cool, sit down. Let's look at everything you're doing. Let's look at let's create your marketing avatar. Who is the right targeting customer, and then let's find out the best way to target that person, instead of trying to make viral content, which I've seen happen so much now, especially with some cafes. Some other businesses are making truly absurd stuff, which is amazing to watch, but it doesn't make you go, I want to go to that cafe and buy that thing. Like, I watched one video where some dude's got his mouth open on a table, and then they make a coffee in his mouth. And that went very viral, okay? So they got like millions of views and all these things. But did you really think people are going to go, oh, I want to go to that coffee shop now? No. Terrible. So you have to draw that line, and you have to really think, what are you trying to chase here?
How to craft scroll-stopping visuals in a saturated market.
Going back to what I said before, it needs to be about the story. It needs to be something that truly grabs the person that you're trying to sell it to.
So I thought, and you mentioned already, I think, the role of story, strategy, and tech.
Yep.
Including FPV and modern brand marketing. Yeah.
Yeah, so as you can see over here, these are like more stunty stuff. So now this is to showcase Glamp Nusa, which is a new glamping experience that opened up, in Nusa Dua. Now, they came to me to say, can you make a video that makes us look really good?
Roger.
But what happened was they already got someone to make something, and it just did not look good, unfortunately. Yeah. So they came to me. Now, instead of me going, okay, cool, let me just, yeah, cool, I'll come with my drone, I'm just going to fly it, and whoop-de-doo, it's done. Instead, I did my research. I sat down with them. We found out what makes their place unique. We found out that right next to them is a paragliding adventure, literally right next to them. So I actually contacted the paragliding adventure, and I got them involved in the whole production, so that we can cross-promote Glamp Nusa and cross-promote, it's called Ryuk Paragliding. Cross-promote them together, so it became like it became a business collaboration, which they never thought was going to happen, which nobody else would have thought about, because they don't know, most people don't really think like that.
So everybody here, great audience, right? So I don't want to kind of monopolize his time. So in about 5 minutes or so, that microphone that you spoke on before, and yes, that's the other ulterior motive that I had, So now you know how to speak and use that mic, right? So if you have a question, just raise your hand, ask your question. So this is how questions work. You can say your name, you can say your company, a short intro, but to your question. Let's not have we're in jungle, but he's holding back. You hear that? He's holding back. So let's not have the whole kind of essay about you, and then at some point there's a question at the end. It wastes time. So we want to get through the maximum number of questions to give the maximum value to everybody, all right? So in about 5 minutes' time, if you have a question, please raise your hand. That mic over here somewhere will come to you, all right? So last few questions from me at this point. There shall be more. So we've established, those three key questions. We've established that you're a full turnkey solution. We've established that you have creativity in that you actually go to a place, check out what's around it and say, well, what are the other aspects and opportunities here that we can bring into this,
Yep.
right? Which I think the Glamp Nusa and paragliding, great example. So, but let's say one of the teachers here at the school or one of the guys at catering or a soap person, whoever they might be, which three questions should they ask a content person before they even think about hiring them? What would those three questions be?
Do not ask, do you know how to make nice videos? Because most people know how to make nice videos these days, okay? That's not the question you should be asking a content creator. You should be asking them, can you provide me examples of success that you've had for other businesses? And that's going to kill off most of the content creators in Bali. Because what most of them focus on is just making nice videos to some extent, but they don't actually look at what the video's impact was for the business. And I made this mistake too early on in my career. I created content and I did all these things, but I never even bothered to check like what happened. I just went like, I made a video, it looked fine, here you go, see ya. Like I did that too. But as I got more experience in what I do, I started to realize, wait, the whole point of somebody hiring me is to assist them in getting a result. And I better damn make sure that I get a result, or I find out that I get a result. So I actually approach it completely differently these days, where every time I create a commercial or every time I create something, I actually find out what was the measurable impact to your business as a result of it. So I actually have case studies now on my website from a resort in Canada. That's the one that's listed on Forbes. Another company over in Melbourne who sell power banks, and then and also Swaga Suites over in Canggu. So we did a commercial for them, and that became their most successful commercial. How did I find out it became the most successful commercial? Not by views and likes, but by the fact that there was a 45% spike in website visits after the commercial went live, which they haven't had something go that crazy before. That's how you know what you do actually works.
Love it. So if you're just tuning in on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, we're here tonight, episode 472. SpeakuP Monday, Destination Indonesia, with Vinnie, who is the founder and chief pilot at Lucid Creative, and we're talking about content creation, but we're going deeper than that. We're talking about, number one, do you have a need for it? Number two, if you do, then how do you create something that not just looks good only, but something that actually converts? So there's a purpose, there's a reason behind why you do something, and why not ensure and make sure to the best of your ability that you create content that actually converts for your business. All right. So now we're going to go to questions in the audience here. Remember, the whole point really of being in the audience is that, it's fun and we have a lot of laughs before, during, and after, but quite often what you find is that it's the people which are here. That's where your next connection is. Yes, we have an incredible guest. Yes, he knows what he's doing. And yes, you're going to want to speak to him. But what you may also find is that some other people in the audience that have spoken, you may want to speak to them too. They may end up being a confidant, a support, a business partner. This is how it often happens on this show and shows like it. So again, do not just come and go and leave. Make sure you stay and you connect with people that you feel drawn to. All right, so third mic, please, Brother Guzman. Now, I know there are questions. Don't let me put it in your hand because I will. All right, so we've got, cool. After here, we'll go over there if we can. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Daudas. I do networking, so I'm like Tinder for business. So that's also including a lot of content creation too. First of all, I wanted to say thank you. The stuff that you told about content creation, that's exactly how it goes. A lot of people fail on those things. Yeah. And my question would be for personal kind. I have a friend in Australia, and he wants to do drone business, and I want to bring him here. How can he do that here legally? What should he do?
Beautiful. So pass it on. We had a question. Yep. Over to you, brother. Yeah.
You will need to, it's not going to be cheap. You will need to hire a very capable visa agency / legal entity to be able to do that. And they will have to, it's quite a bit of work to be able to do it. So I can recommend you someone if you want to, the person who took care of my stuff. It's doable, but it's not fast and it's not cheap.
Maybe you can say the steps.
Yeah, you have to show a certain amount of capital in your bank account. You will have to show that you have his work history. You will have to obviously be a adult. I'm sure he is if he's wanting to do it like that. You won't need. You won't need to have any licenses per se, but it does help if you do. And then you will need to work with your lawyer or work with your legal entity, and they'll have to set up your bank account, set up your visas and everything. It really depends. Sometimes it can go like in the hundreds of millions to do it. Yeah.
Thank you. Great question. Great answer. Over here somewhere. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Davide. I have a question about what is the most dumb idea that people are copying. So I'll give you an example. Is it, having a good-looking girl in bikini, or a man?
That's never a dumb idea.
SpeakuP Monday does not condone or endorse the
or
comments of his guest or audience.
Well, of course, I'm willing to hear an alternative, or a man with a lot of muscles, cool tattoos. So that's the number one question, and the number two question is, how do you keep yourself creative? Because if you keep watching a lot of videos on Instagram and so on, you might get conditioned or biased. So how do you keep your creativity going? Do you have a routine? Do you write in your diary? How do you get inspiration? And how do you keep yourself freshly creative?
Thank you for your answer. Next question, if you pass the mic along. Just to your right, David, here in front of you. Yeah. Okay, please. Yeah.
All right, to answer your first question, okay, a lot of people are now trying to keep up with social media trends. And that seems to be something that a lot of people are just copying over and over again. And that may bring a lot of eyeballs towards your business, for example. But that's when things like what I told you about that cafe video happened, where they put some dude on a table and made a coffee inside of his mouth. Like, you're trying to get attention by following trends of absurdity and these craziness, but it's just not going to be the right kind of attention, and it's going to be junk attention, where you get your follower growth is going to be like crazy, and your view counts and everything are going to be like crazy, but it won't be people in your local area who'll actually come to your business. And if anything, you might turn people away. So what I see people mostly copying now is absurdity, and also, yes, over-sexualization too. They're trying to do that. What I said before was completely a joke, guys. I wasn't condoning it at all. But yeah, some people try to make that as the center point of their attention to try and see, hey, would this work? And again, it works in just pure numbers and click and views, but it won't work so much in conversions. Especially, as always, it depends on what you're trying to sell.
And the second question was about how do you maintain, nurture your creative juices, your creative streak?
So for that, I actually follow other content creators. So because I fly drones, I follow other drone pilots around the world to see what are they doing in their part of the world. Because every country has a uniqueness to them, and these folks, they are really good at finding a way to make that uniqueness work for them. So, for example, for Bali, there's another pilot called Surya, and he's really great at what he does, and he showcases Bali in such a nice way. Shout out Surya. And he's really good at what he does. Then there's another bloke over in Kazakhstan.
Ooh.
Yeah, and his name is Baidustan or something. I can't remember his exact.
Baidustan?
Baidustan.
Baidustan.
I think. And,
Kazakhstan.
Yeah, Kazakhstan, and he showcases. Again, Kazakhstan in just some ridiculous way that nobody would ever even consider to look at Kazakhstan in that way.
Love it.
And then, and then there's another fellow over from the Netherlands actually called.
Hold on a second. Did you say the Netherlands? Can I just get a hell yeah from the Netherlands in the house to say hell yeah? There's a few.
There's more. Yeah, so I follow other pilots from around the world, and they showcase whatever they do in just a very different way. And that might give me ideas for new angles, or it might give me new ideas for how I can integrate that to my storytelling. There's so many ways to do it. But another thing that you should understand about all of these creators online is they're making videos that only are good for lots of views. So they'll have a lot of views, a lot of followers, but it doesn't necessarily mean that same thing can be applied to your business.
Yeah.
That's why you got to draw that line.
Well, we keep hearing this, right, from you, which is very valuable.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, coming into this episode, my assumption incorrectly was, the more views, the better, right? But actually, no, it is about what are you doing it for, and have you shifted the needle in respect to that? Because if you haven't, then it's just kind of money down the drain, right?
Yeah,
to a certain
exactly.
extent.
Like, for example, if you go on social media and you look at all these content creators, their videos get lots of views, they have a lot of followers, but the top marketing agencies in the world, you barely even see them on social media.
It's a damn good point.
For example,
go on. Yeah, please.
For example, Bali's top video agency, Bali Prod, I think they only have a couple of thousand followers, even though they do ads for Huawei, Samsung, major K-pop artists making music videos. They do some of the biggest ads in the world. Yeah. Do you guys see them on social media faffing around? You don't.
Thank you. So, we had a mic over here. By the way, Perry, Luke, you guys should meet. Trust me on this one, my brother.
Hi, so I'm Komi. I'm a stock trader by profession. The question I had is, if you are to restart again today to rebuild your audience, what are the top 3 things you would do?
Start with zero, nothing, no equipment, no...
Start with zero. It's a saturated market. Mm-hmm. What would you do to stand out? What are the top 3 things you would do?
So it depends on what I would want to target first. Let's say I am starting again, zero, I have no knowledge, my brain's completely reset. I would learn...
Sorry. Can we start with your brain as it is now? So you've got the knowledge.
Now. Okay. Yes. So I have the knowledge that I have now. Okay.
SpeakuP Monday doesn't endorse...
Okay, knowing what I know now, if I had to start again, I would completely go down the route of understanding what impact that I would be having for anybody that I do any work for, or anything that I make any piece of content for, no matter it's a photo, it's a video, whatever it is. Because anybody else starting off is just trying to that looks kind of nice, and I just go, that's it. That's what everybody else is doing. So if I had to start again, I'd completely go at it with intent of what is the impact that I'm trying to put towards either my clients or what potential clients, or what impact it is that I'm trying to put into the world in general.
he asked for 3, but maybe there's another 2 in
Oh
there
yeah,
somewhere.
jeez.
It's a tough question, I know, and he's there just smiling, saying, "You have 2 more, brother."
Okay, one would be so the impact that I would have. What would that be? Then I would also learn more about. Well, knowing what I know now, I already know most things. Damn. Nice questions.
So good.
Really put me on the spot there. Gain more knowledge from more people, not people who know how to make nice videos, but I'd be networking and learning from more people who are in professional marketing fields. That's one thing I would do, because that's their job and that's what they are all about. I would be interning at a marketing agency. I would be talking to other people who are like top marketing experts. If I can, I would join certain trade groups or industry groups in which those kind of people are congregating. That's what I would be doing if I had to start again and I did not know, or I don't have anything.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. So questions over there? Anyone? Want one over here? Yeah, but Luke and Perry, any question, man? You feel free to answer. Okay, all good.
Hi, I'm Luke, and having been a chief marketing officer at one point in my career, there's this interesting problem that you have when you start talking about conversion, right? Because I can come to a guy like you and go, dude, I need some great content. This is, I think, my target market, blah, 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 and we kind of define it, and you create the content. But I get them to the site and they don't convert. And then you get into this debate of, well, what were your journeys on the site look like? What's your pricing? How is this working? Why are you failing, right? And it would seem to me that you as a content creator, that's potentially a big point of conflict for you. When on the one hand, you drove the guy's views up 45%, but he's not converting. And he comes back to you and says, well, I got the traffic, but it was the wrong traffic and didn't convert. So do you tend to go any deeper with your clients in terms of the journeys to conversion as opposed to just getting them to the front door?
So I'm going to be honest with you, we haven't gone that deep because, and I can tell you why, most, for example, where I have tracked these things are for like hotel groups, they don't actually want to give you those numbers. So I have requested that before, but oftentimes the response is, hey, that's a different department and we are not in charge of that and we don't even see it. For example, one of the clients recently that I did a video for, which successful video in all of those things, actual conversions, when I requested it, they said the actual bookings is handled by a completely different department in a different part of the country, and we don't even know.
Amazing.
So what's your takeaway from that?
Again, it's a risk, right, with a whole new concept. Are you willing to do that, to try something different, to see if you can get better conversions this time, but work with that person to actually give them that information so that they can adjust their tune if it doesn't work to the extent that you expected it to.
Now, because I know you, Luke, that microphone is stuck to your hand. Perry, get that mic. Just pull it out of his hand. Pull it out. Otherwise, it's not going to go anywhere. Do you have one more quick question or you're done? Thank you, brother. Pass that microphone over here, and we'll make it over to the group over here. Thank you, everyone over here who's asked the question. Appreciate you very much. Just keep on going. Yeah, thanks, Brother Guz. All right, just skip that guy. Keep on going. Keep on. It's gonna come back to you, man. It's gonna come back to you. It's not gonna come back to you.
It never did.
It's working? Yeah. Okay, yeah. So I'm Elise. I'm a full-time content creator and currently the creative director of Kaido, our recovery brand that sells ice bath and sauna. So my question is, because I think every one of us here is either content creator or entrepreneur or business owner, right? And we would want to convert the content that we have on Instagram or like Facebook into sales. So to what extent we should collaborate with other businesses? Because we wanted to also make more sales, but if we are doing our own content, right, and we wanted to collaborate, because currently in Bali there's a lot of offers for collaboration as long as it's related to the business or the niche that you are currently doing. So my question is, to what extent we should collaborate with a business to cross promote each other, and does it harm or really help the brand?
With collaborations, as you said, yeah, you have to be very selective and very strategic about what it is. So let's say you're selling ice baths, right?
Yes.
So that would be something you can collaborate, let's say, with people who are running retreats, people who own spas. That could be something to work that with. But whatever you decide to do in terms of a collaboration, make sure that you both of the entities in the collaboration are creating content that promote each other in just the right way. Obviously, you shouldn't be doing it for all the time, but if you're starting out and you want to get your name out there, you need to find mutually beneficial ways to collaborate with another business that's already established.
My follow-up question is that how many is the maximum brands that can collaborate in, let's say, in one content? Because, like, let's say if we are selling ice bath, right?
Yeah.
We have recently collaborated with a bedsheet brand because our shoot was in a lifestyle content, and we collaborated with the villa as well. So, I mean, my question is that for how many brands or like businesses can collaborate in just one whole shoot that will both be beneficial to everyone?
There's no hard limit like that, as long as it doesn't get too saturated. So, for example, you just collaborated with a villa, you said?
Yes.
A villa and a bedsheet company?
Bedsheet. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's in total 3 things, right? So that's a good number. And also, everything you do now is to eventually go up on social media, right? So collaboration posts have a limit of 5 people now? Or has it gone up since?
I think it's 5 or 10.
I think
5 or
5,
10,
yeah,
right?
but
Yeah,
you
it's
can
5,
tag
5.
more, like around 10.
Yeah. So you have to think about how many people are actually in a collaboration post as well, alongside what you're doing. So as long as it doesn't get too saturated. If you go past, let's say, 4 or 5, then it starts to get a bit too much. Okay. For anybody looking. It's going to be like, wait, is this for this? What's that for that? Wait, what am I looking at the moment? There's just so many things going on at once.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. If you pass mic to Carol, yes. And we'll get to Farouk eventually, and my brother, of course.
We're going around. So there is a business book that I hate with a vengeance, and it's called The One Thing. And what I really loved about your share earlier is how you explained that you went from one thing to many things. I'm a creative, and I do a lot of my work, and I get a lot of inspiration from actually not one thing, because I find it very, very limiting. I also happen to be a perfectionist creative. So I wanted to know, what's your perception about the one thing when you're creative, and then where do you stop? Because your content looks perfect. Yes.
Not to me.
Not to you. Okay.
That's the curse.
Brilliant. And a lot of people advocate for, hey, it doesn't matter if it's perfect or not, just put it out. So what's your stance on these two things?
So I had major problems with that when I first started out, especially when I was making music. And I used to nitpick the living daylights out of anything I was making, where we're only making about maybe a 10% difference, but we are spending about 60% of extra time. So that comes down to efficiency. Learning when to go, this is enough. If I keep messing with this, it's just going to make it worse. That also comes with experience. And if you are a perfectionist, that's honestly going to work against you. So everything I put out now, to a lot of people, it may look perfect, but to a lot of other people who do what I do, they will find so many mistakes in it. And I just go, I don't care at this point, because I'm not making these, whatever I do, right? It's not made for other drone pilots to look to impress them. Yes, my ego wants it to, but that's not the main concern. Again, through experience, I learned that whoever is commissioning you to do this, for example, their idea of perception is probably only 10 to 20% of what my idea of perfection is. So I take it to a certain point, and then I go, and then I actually take a break from it, and I come back to it and I go, is there any more things? If it's a few things, sure. And then I go, this is it, I'm done. I'm actually putting a hard, that's it, I'm done. I just tell myself, this is it, it's finished. just send it out. Stop trying to mess with it more and more.
Are you still proud of what you do?
Oh, absolutely, yes. Yeah, of course. I'm still, proud of what I'm able to achieve so far, what results I've gotten for people, and whatever, spectacles I'm able to create with the equipment that I have. But you have to just know when to say just send it out at this point.
I think what I'm overhearing is that the key aspect is who you're doing it for. If you're doing it for yourself, then you're going to spend all this extra. But if you're doing it for someone else, a client, and you know that you've satisfied what the client needed, then you're at peace.
Yeah, pretty much. You've satisfied what the client needed, but obviously don't just do that 20% job where the client says this is awesome, and then you just you say okay, done, and then you leave. Do it to the best of your abilities, but just understand that final 10% may not ever be needed, and that final 10 to 20% is where you'll spend most of your time.
Beautiful. No names. Farouk, you're up.
Hello, everyone. I'm Farouk. My professional background is in brand strategy and brand building. And so there's two parts to this. There's one, I just want to...
Sorry, my brother. Microphone much closer.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's two parts to this. One is a question for Vinnie. By the way, I love the work. And then the first part I'll start with is just to give some clarity and insight to some of the questions that some of the people were asking. And so what I've learned is that there's a distinction between content and branding. And what a lot of companies and brands fail to do, especially, a few of my peers and I, we coined this term, there's this brand or content urgency culture that's happening. And so everyone is rushing to get content out. And some of the best brands in the world, they actually don't create a lot of content. They create more direct and more deliberate content. And so for those of you who are building a company or, repositioning your company, you want to start with the brand strategy first. The brand story, that is separate, and that's a distinction versus the content, because the brand strategy informs the brand content, and then the content strategy, as opposed to a lot of people I speak with, they have a struggle trying to keep up with that urgency of social media and content, because they're just trying to keep up. And to your point, to support your point, it's like this copy and paste culture where, they don't really understand the brand strategy, but that's separate than content. The brand strategy informs the content, and then the content informs the marketing channels, as opposed to casting a wide net across social media, which can be very cumbersome. So that's just a comment to clarify that. And then a question for you, Vinnie, is again, this brand urgency culture, this content urgency culture. So again, here where brands and companies feel like they have to stay relevant. So they're just putting out content week after week. And it may have a short impact, but it's forgotten about a week later, as opposed to really establishing content that has longer shelf life. So again, the example are some of the best brands in the world. They actually don't create a lot of content. They have focused campaigns, maybe quarterly throughout the year, but they spread that campaign over a time. And so for you as an agency, my question to you is, how do you bridge that gap between keeping up with the culture, or just staying relevant, but also being mindful of creating longevity and creating brand equity, which essentially is the essence of content creation in this new age?
Thank you, my brother. If you pass the mic to Kay, and over to you, brother.
Yeah, that's a real problem to try and talk that through with most business owners, because some algorithms actually favor quantity over quality, but the quantity you're putting out has to be good quality quantity, and that's what people don't understand. They just go, okay, I'm gonna make this complete dog's breakfast and I'm gonna throw it out, and then I'm gonna make another dog's breakfast, and then I'm gonna keep throwing those out just because I have to post something. And then they look at the entire feed. This is because I've done some audits on some accounts just to have a look at what's happening, and it's just they have posted for quantity, but none of them get any views, or none of them are actually making any measurable impact on their page at all. It's just a big load of just really badly produced stuff. So that's something that we have to some extent educate the people who are trying to hire. So educate the owners of a business to say, don't try to chase trends, and don't try to make this mass machine of things coming out, because the people who do that well actually have gigantic budgets behind them to ensure that whatever they put out, even if it's shot on a phone, that has been gone through many meetings to get to that point at which it is so effective in what it does.
Thank you for the question, Farouk. And the answer, Sister K, over to you.
All right. Hi, Vinnie. So basically, we are in real estate industry, right? Given the competition between 3 countries, I wanted to know if you put yourself as a real estate agent or a broker, owner of a brokerage, right? How do you see yourself competing in another agency, given the fact that massive of real estate agents now, right? They have a very creative mind in terms of tour viewing their property. So if I am a real estate agent, how do I beat these people around me? You know, because that's the real deal here. If I am a real estate agent, I don't wanna views. I wanna sell. Lead generation is what really this is what really content creation is all about. If I want to sell a product, sure, I want to view you, but at the end of the day, please buy something, correct or not? So that is what I want to do. How do I outshine this competition? This is what matters to me.
Hire Lucid Creative. Sorry. I never said that. I did. And I meant it. Great question, Kay.
You will first need to actually do a lot of in-depth analysis around your competitors to see what are they doing, what have they already done, and is it actually having like a good impact to their business, right? Obviously, you can't ask them for their numbers; they're never going to give you that. But from whatever you can see online, you can get a general gauge of is it working, is it not. And then what you will have to do is to go, okay, you can try and emulate them to some extent, but can I also do something that is against the grain of what they're doing to shift attention towards me instead? But that doesn't come in a quick thing like that. You will have to do you things like this. You know, they take a lot of effort and time to get it to a state at which it works well. So, was it Farouk, the guy?
Yeah. Farouk.
To go back to what what Farouk was saying, that's when people go, no, I give up. I'm just going to do quantity and do a whole bunch of things. So you will have to really sit down and think about what you want to do. But here's the other thing: if you're running your business, you don't have the time to do those kind of things because you're busy running your business. So that is where
3 businesses.
Yeah, running 3 businesses. So that is where, going to an external entity like an external branding agency or an external marketing agency will give you like an outside perspective that you would probably need. Because as an owner of a business, you're in the mud to see above it, whereas an external agency can give you the bird's eye view, which you probably could never do because you're just all the way down there, just in the business already. That would be my advice.
Great question. Great answer. My brother.
Hi, Vinnie, brother. So my background is in project management and business consultancy, and I transitioned to creating my own life coaching business. And what you see with from business to business to consumer, there's a big hole, and that's also what Farouk mentioned about like content about brand awareness or brand like your personal brand or the brand of the. You mentioned personal branding, right? Before.
Yes, brand strategy.
Yeah, brand strategy. And when you go from business to business to business to consumer, personal branding is kind of complicated in that sense. And you mentioned in the beginning also like that you say like create with the end in mind. So what is the final result you want to cross over to your customers with your videos, with your marketing, and what would actually be more valuable to your customers? What would be more valuable to them? Is it their focus the marketing on their pain points, their problems, focus the marketing on their process, and that you can support that process, or focus the marketing more on the final result they want to achieve? And I wanted to be more specific on that because you said like create with the end in mind, create with the with the results. But is there more value you can create with the problem in hand, the process, or the final direct result they get? What would you say?
As always, like whatever I said, it really depends for what it's trying to be used for. But for your specific case, in terms of what kind of content you can create, it'll have to be a mixed bag of all of those things. You're addressing their pain points, you're addressing things that they could do to make it better, and to some extent you may have to give out a bit of free advice in a sense to use that as a hook to get people towards more deeper things to do with you. That'll be the best way to go. And also because what you're doing is direct to consumer and it's direct to people, they need to like you as a person first. So that's where you'll need to start making things that make you, not so much make you look cool, but make you look like that approachable person that I want to go to say I need assistance with my life.
So thank you for the answer. And so you would say trust would be the best value you can create, actually.
And also these days there are so many like fake influencers and fake gurus online, then that's leaving a pretty bad taste in most people's mouths. So you will need to do something to not only cut above them, but to cut through them and just to tell people, hey, all of this stuff is a bunch of bullshit. Trust me instead to some extent because I focus on these things instead. It may not, again, go viral, but it may land you the right people that you actually want to work with.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Okay, last question, brother. Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Vinnie, a couple of days ago, I told you my story, what I went through in the last 18 years here in Bali with my business. And I forgot to ask you something. Which role, actually, and I'm wondering why no one is talking about that here today. What role in your business and in my business is playing DeepSeek and ChatGPT? Because after our talk, I tried to do my content on DeepSeek, and I just check it, and my viewers went from 30 to 184,000 in 3 seconds. So, what do you think in my business? How important for what I need a content creator? When I have DeepSeek in 5 seconds ready, and which role is it in your business actually?
So at the moment, in terms of what I do, everything is delving in the real world. So we haven't reached a point of at the moment for exactly what I do where that can be useful. Where that can be useful is to save time on more tedious things. So for example, if I need to come up with a concept for something, I will use AI and I will tell it, this is my base idea for a concept. Are there any ways this can be improved, or is there any way this can be expanded upon, or something that will be more effective towards this target person? That's where AI comes into play for someone like me. But for you who's running a business, AI can't make the complete video yet, can it? It just gave you some ideas. If you can give the mic back.
Yeah, it's not about the video, it's actually about the content. So I after our meeting, I was sitting at home and said, what kind of questions can you ask DeepSeek to make a content for me?
Yeah.
It took 3 seconds. I put in my questions for my business.
Yep.
And it took 3 seconds. I got a whole bunch of answers. What can I post on my video?
Yeah.
That's already done. And now I have 180,000 viewers with DeepSeek. So my question was, for what I need a content creator? Anyway, for what?
And as always, it depends. If you're selling jams, breads, and that's what you're selling.
Yeah.
By the way, his jam is amazing.
Thank you. And my German bread.
Yes. Broadseed
Bestseller.
Bakery. Yeah. Everybody go over there and get your bread.
Thank you.
See, for those types of, for example, whatever I do here has nothing to do with what you sell. I can't throw a piece of bread on that
Yeah,
sofa
I
there
see.
and say, buy the bread when I'm flying around a house, you know?
Yeah.
So it really depends. Really depends on what you do. So for your products, you can actually utilize AI to either create visual assets, like, little animated style images to post. You can even then use those animated images, feed it into other tools to make it go from a still image over to a moving image. That's also something that you can look into if you want to. And because it's just selling, small products like that, that actually helps those kind of products.
Do you using DeepSeek in your business as well?
No, I don't use DeepSeek. I use ChatGPT Pro,
Okay.
but that's just to help me with like some concept level stuff. But nothing on the actual outputs are running through AI at all. But honestly, that's where the future is going. And I will be making measures to prepare for that future, because this stuff is always changing. A few years ago, this wasn't the norm to fly drones like this. Now it is. But what's the future?
Look, just to thank you for that.
Yeah.
One of the beautiful things about having an audience like this who's engaged is that I had a few questions lined up. So you beat me to it, but that's okay. It's better that it comes from you than it is from me, right? But that's really the point. Is to kind of there's a few points for this interview, for example. One is for those people who are thinking about content to think about content differently. That was one reason. Another reason is obviously to introduce this guy, Vinnie, who I happen to like a lot as well. I think he's a great person. And with SpeakuP Monday, people inspire people, unity and diversity, entrepreneurship and social impact. So what does that mean? It means that if the guest or guests, of which there's been 1,000 plus, right? If it can get to a point where they speak their truth, and everybody here knows when someone's speaking their truth and knows when someone's lying. You may not say it, but you feel it. It's a frequency. So if that happens, then our job is done. Because to me, it's when I have a problem or a challenge, I go to a person most of the time as opposed to technology. Life coach and so on and so on and so on. So therefore, if you can see the person who they are, then you may want to work with them. They might be the greatest at what they do. They might be okay at what they do. But if you're here and they're there, okay is going to be enough. But you trust them. And that's really the point. Because someone here earlier mentioned about trust. It was you. For me, in today's technology society, I think trust and kind of going back in a way to the old-fashioned handshake is in some areas becoming more and more important. Because let's take coaching, for example. I've been coaching for a long time, right? Doesn't matter. It's about this. We're in Canggu. I love Canggu. It's a great place. Now, quick joke. If I asked a group of 100 people who here is a coach, about 99 of them will put their hands and say, I'm a coach, I'm a coach, I'm a coach. Then if I said for longer than a week, right, I think a lot of those hands would come down, right? So the point is, with technology, I can have a website, I can look, smell, and taste like a coach in a heartbeat. But if it comes to my life and I'm dealing with someone who became a coach last week, I'm going to find it pretty quick. So therefore, it kind of comes back again to who is a human being, who is a person before me. And that's one of the reasons why I SpeakuP Monday. The first thing is people inspire people. Unity and diversity, and then entrepreneurship and social impact. But as we round this show to an end, so I'm going to leave you a question that you're going to have a few minutes to think about, and then I'm going to begin to wrap up, and then we're going to come back to you. Then everyone here, Lord knows how we're going to do it, but we're going to do it, is going to get in a photo here right? It'll be Vinny and I first, and then everyone else will come in. We'll reorganize the lights. Hadis will come over, and we'll have a great photo to remember everyone by. Then over here we have a QR code, which is a QR code to SpeakuP Monday. It's a one-way bulletin which ensures that you know exactly what's happening every week ahead of time. Next week, the first Monday of every month, is all about health, wellness, and medical tourism. We're working with some of the best in the country of Indonesia, as well as the chairman of Bali Medical Tourism Association, a guy called Dr. Patrajaya, fantastic human. So next week, if you're interested in health, be it wellness, be it health tourism or medical tourism, make sure you come. Always valuable, powerful episodes. That will be, I think, number 39 of that series, okay? And will be episode 473. The question I'm going to leave you with is, we've been through this kind of extraordinary excursion. For those of you who've got motion sickness watching this, I apologize. I watched it a few times and I felt myself going. So maybe these guys here are like, oh, they're gonna get up and fall over. Make sure you stand next to someone else when you stand up, all right? But jokes aside, thank you so much, because again, I've learned so much. That first one about just not having viral content, but content that actually plays its part for the outcome that you are looking for, I think is a key distinction, which I'll definitely walk away with here, and many others. So thanks, Brother Guzman, Hadis, Tropical Nomad. Please, a round of applause for Tropical Nomad, our technical partner. And then, obviously, a round of applause for a fantastic audience. Thank you so much. And remember, hang around, right? Tropical Nomad is open 24 hours a day. I'm not saying you should stay here for 24 hours, but you can if you want to. But please make sure after the photo you meet people, including Vinny, because there's some extremely powerful minds here that you've already heard from and got that feeling and got that sense about, all right? So, is there anything else that you want to add, being that we had today's topic? Is there anything else that you wanted to speak about that perhaps, you haven't mentioned yet? And then the final point would be to plug yourself. How do people get in touch with you if they want to go one or two steps further? You've got about a minute and a half, all right, to think about that. I'll leave it with you. So the final parts, as I mentioned, Robert Ian Bonnick, you're watching SpeakuP Monday, episode 471. Was it 72? I've forgotten now. 72. Thank you very much, Perry. And so, again, gateway to Indonesia. So what that basically means is that, imagine Nokia, right? Connecting people, projects, and strategies across 10 different market sectors here in Indonesia, working with government as well as private and public sector. If we can help with anyone here, please feel free to reach out. And look, if you're thinking about, perhaps wanting to be a guest on SpeakuP Monday, I don't put this out there too often because people tend to find us. But if it's something after watching you feel drawn to, just come and have a chat to me afterwards and let's see what we can create. And I just want to again thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's been another wonderful episode. Thank you for everybody who's come. I'm sure you've gotten a lot of value, as have I. And I look forward to seeing your smiling, beautiful faces again. So one more round of applause for yourself before we hear from Vinny. Go. Yeah. Brother Vinny, over to you.
Okay, one last thing I wanna say is, if I went back in time and I stole Vincent van Gogh's brush and his paint, and I came back to now, and I gave one of you his paintbrush, and I gave you his paint, whatever paints that he used, and his canvas, are you going to create the Starry Night? No. That's why people like us exist. Just because you have the tools, it does not mean that you're going to start just making bangers immediately. I had to go through a lot of shit to get to this point in which I'm sitting on this chair and I'm giving you advice. And that expertise comes at a very, at a time investment, which you as a business owner might not have. That's what I want to leave you with.
Beautiful. Everybody, round of applause, Vinnie.